You know, usually when I see people coming for Eric July, it's out of their mind left-leaning lunatics who have never once read a comic in their lives and just can't stand him based on his politics and his identity because it conflicts with their identity, politics, and their ideology. But that doesn't mean the right doesn't do the exact same thing to him. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and I really didn't want to make this video. I'll be real. I don't like covering other YouTubers, especially YouTubers who are bigger than me. One, because they can fight their own battles, and two, because it just reeks of clout chasing. So, this isn't going to be anything like that. Really, this isn't even about Eric July and the rippaverse so much so as it's, it encapsulates a problem I'm seeing with the right-wing side of things lately. People that claim that they were fighting in this culture war to get certain ideologies out of nerd culture, but instead of wanting there to be no ideology, they want them replaced with their own. And we are seeing that a lot when it comes to the dialogue over the Yaira comic coming out. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're going to go over a bunch of tweets that have come out about people throwing a fit over something that really makes them show their true colors. That shows that the right is nothing more than the left when it comes to the same side of the ideological coin. Now, if you're on the right and you're not doing this, then obviously this doesn't apply to you, but I'd say go ahead, keep watching the video anyway, because what's more important than calling out the other side is calling out your own side, being philosophically and intellectually consistent, and that's something we're not seeing a whole lot of. So yeah, hit that subscribe button, that way channels like mine can grow, and then let's go ahead and talk about this. So we got Todd Ace Crawford here. Eric July would rather work with / employ absolute degenerates and take the bad PR instead of background checking his employees. Now what's he talking about? You guys might know what he's talking about, but I'll give you the quick version just in case you don't know. The Sasa sisters. Who are the Sasa sisters? Well, they are two sisters that are, they've got a certain political lean to them, a certain ideology that a lot of folks on the right don't like when it comes to their comic books, their art, their movies, and they've done some pretty, let's be real, like they say here, degenerate things in their past, but you know what? Who really cares? And that's what I want to get at, because Eric has maintained since day one that he wants this ideology out of comic books. He doesn't want the ideology of the right in his books. He just wants good stories. And there's some people that seem to not be able to wrap their head around that. They see these individuals who have committed incest, which also, I'm going to lay this on Front Street. I do not care about that. So these twin sisters, or I don't know if they're twins or not, but these sisters were in some sort of small indie art house film like 10 years ago where there was some incest going on, and oh well, I'm gonna be real, I do not care about that. What do I care about? Well, I care, are those sorts of things, first of all, if that's something they actively promote, which it doesn't seem like it is when you look at it. Again, people have done crazy things in Hollywood or in the public, in an effort to be famous or be in, movies or artistic projects or whatnot. But let's say it was something they promoted, like in their personal lives. As long as it's not in the books, as long as it's not in the Rippaverse comics or anything to that effect, then who cares? The whole point of, this sort of comicsgate movement or indie comics movement or Iron Age or being, against the, being anti-woke is to get that left-leaning ideology out of nerd space. It's not to replace it with modern-day right-leaning ideology. It's to keep the ideology completely out of nerd cultures in general. Now, we'll get to Eric's response in a little bit, but I want to show you more of the detractors, because, again, usually when you talk about Eric July detractors, you're usually talking about crazy, unhinged leftists, or you're talking about other people in the comic book community that for whatever reason don't like Eric's success, whether it be because of jealousy or infighting or a myriad of reasons that, again, I don't care about. I don't have much a dog in this race. I do, however, have feelings about people who are using this sort of cultural landscape of being anti-woke as a way to just shove their politics into nerd culture. So we got Todd Ace Crawford here, who's, partaker of comics, retro games. He's a dabbler in anime, tabletop gaming, and trading card games. Basically, let's be real, he's a tourist. That's what he is. He's a tourist. But what do we see here? All right, he just shared this. Some people will consider this very, degenerate, as he put it earlier about the Sasa sisters. We got this high-quality statue from Witchblade, which is a great comic book and a great anime, by the way. But, yeah, it's very sexualized of the female characters. So, if his version of degeneracy, that contradicts, this version here, because it's all subjective. We got a bunch of, being not woke was the whole point of starting his own company, you disingenuous moron, is, and he retweeted that. They're talking about Eric July, obviously. No, that was not the case. It was never, yes, being not woke was, that is true, but being right-leaning is not the same as being non-woke. I, for example, am a very down-the-middle type of individual. I voted right, I voted left, I'm pretty down the middle, I got different, opinions based on the situation at hand, I vote based on policy. But I'm not woke. Just because I've had some sort of, there's certain opinions I might have, might lean to the left, doesn't make me woke. Most of my stuff does lean toward the right, or at least goes right down the libertarian center, because let's be real, at the end of the day, I'm more libertarian libertarian than I am anything. That's why Ryan Roger Rathe calls me the libertarian contrarian. But even then, I don't know that that's an accurate enough title. I treat it like a buffet, pick and choose. So the vast majority of people are confusing not woke with right-leaning, when they're not the same thing, not by a long shot. So yes, while you can make the argument that Eric July's comics were to be not woke, remove wokeness from comic book culture, that doesn't immediately mean right-wing. And Eric has come out here when Todd posted this, said, "Clutch your pearls as tight as you need. They will not be fired due to your moral faggotry. Faint on the couch of you." My God, that was great. Moral faggotry. And I love how he probably got around Twitter censorship by using it all as one word. But yeah, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing the right-leaning individuals, the probably Christian conservative types, clutching, just, oh my goodness, he's hiring people that have a questionable past, as if you don't also have a questionable past. Everybody has a questionable past. Everybody has done something that they're not proud of, something that if came to light would hypothetically ruin them if they allowed it to ruin them. That's just part of being human, and I'm glad to see that Eric's not going to have any of it. But it's not just Eric. We have a bunch of these. People don't like to be wrong. They defend Eric to preserve their own worldview. They're deeply invested in their own belief that Eric shares their values. He doesn't. They'll see it in time. No one is asking, or at least to my knowledge, Eric is not asking anyone to share his values. He's asking people to read his book. Whether you like his book or not, I'll be real, I haven't read a single thing from Rippaverse. I haven't paid for anything from Rippaverse. I've never read anything. I don't care. I hope it's good. The people that like it, I'm glad they like it. The people that don't, as long as their criticisms are valid, then good on them as well. But never at any point do I ever remember hearing Eric say anything along the lines of, you have to share his values, or his comic books are made for people with his values. First of all, Eric July is an anarcho-capitalist. That's in pretty short supply these days. Almost no one are going to share his values when you look at what he actually is, a libertarian anarcho-capitalist. So this is flat out wrong, which is ironic considering it says people don't like to be wrong. But then we got this Geo, Rampant Daydream. Now I went back and forth with this moron a lot yesterday. In fact, this guy, let's give Geo some credit. Geo is the inspiration behind me making this video, because it occurred to me how far gone the right is. And again, not everyone on the right. If you're one of these, oh, Leon, I'm on the right. Clearly, I'm not talking about you. Come on, context and whatnot. But a lot of individuals on the right, this is their mentality. And I learned yesterday when arguing with this simpleton that, yeah, the right, I mean, I say I learned it. Really, I know this and I've been preaching about it forever, but it reinforced my belief that the right and the left are the two sides of the exact same coin. Because Rippaverse was supposed to be about gatekeeping the F out of it. Hiring women who make softcore incest porn seems to fall short of that promise. Oh, and it's genuinely disgusting. No one's arguing whether or not incest is disgusting. You don't have to like it, but also, it wasn't even them that made, it wasn't their project. They're actresses. They were working for a director/writer who had a project. They signed on, they took the project. So you can call it whatever you want, softcore incest porn or whatever, as long as that stuff's not in Rippaverse, as long as that stuff is not in Yaira, who cares? Yeah, they're the writers on it. They're also very accomplished comic book writers and have a very strong record of good comic books in the past. So as long as their personal politics aren't involved, who gives a damn? And I mean this isn't, the reason I say this is not just about Eric July or Rippaverse, is because this is how we in the culture war should be treating everyone and everything. I personally could not care less if you vote Trump, if you vote Biden, if you vote, I'll probably care if you vote Nikki Haley, but you know what, that's for a whole slew of different reasons. But the point is, 9 times out of 10, I don't care where your political allegiances lie. I want to know, are you going to be keeping that out of artistic endeavors? When we come to the table to play D&D together, are you going to leave all of your wokeisms out the door? Are you going to throw a fit if there's a sexual assault role-played in a Dungeons & Dragons game because the DM wants to show how bad the villain is? Are you going to, clutch your pearls at any thought of making fun of Jesus or whatever? If you cannot handle jokes on either side, or, fiction on either side, if you must impart your own ideology and your own moral philosophies into whatever it is that you are partaking in or creating, I think that is a problem, and that is where we need to go with this, because when Geo says hiring women who make softcore incest porn seems to fall short of that promise, what promise? His promise was to keep woke stuff out of comics. That was his promise, and thus far, he has delivered on that, so I don't see how he falls short on that promise. But Geo wasn't done. Geo had some other ridiculousness to say. He's hiring the same kind of weirdos and perverts that ruined comics in the first by place. First of all, Geo's an idiot here, but let's just say, let's assume he meant it correctly, ruined comics in the first place. No, how do we know that? The comic isn't out. Now, if the comic were to come out, and it didn't meet our standards for quality, if it did have a bunch of this woke, weirdo, incestuous stuff, whatever you think's going to be in it, then by all means, that would be completely fine. However, we all know that the Rippaverse is Eric July's baby, that he is very much handcrafting this, and he's picking up from a talented pool of writers. He put a tweet out the other day, what writers would you want to see in the Rippaverse? Personally, I tweeted Cullen Bunn. I think Cullen Bunn is incredibly underrated. He's one of the very few dudes who are in the, modern sphere of comics that I think is still in like the mainstream comics, Marvel, DC, plus he does his own indie stuff, and I think he is incredibly talented. Really nice guy, met him several times, and he doesn't seem to play any sort of ideological games. He's also followed on Twitter by Rob Liefeld. I think that's probably a pretty good indication, again, as well as having met him multiple times, because he and I don't live particularly far from one another. He's always been a pretty stand-up dude. So, Cullen Bunn, Eric, if you see this, tap Cullen Bunn for the Rippaverse. I bet he would do a sick job on some sort of future project. But that's neither here nor there. They say he's hiring these weirdos and perverts that ruin comics in the first place. We haven't gotten the project yet. We've not gotten a red yaira. We don't know what's being done. You cannot claim that these are the individuals that are ruining comics when everything I've seen in the Sasa sisters is them doing nothing but going out of the way to engage with fans, to breed positivity amongst the fan base. They seem like they're having great times at cons. They always answer questions on Twitter or on X, whatever you want to call it. Their upcoming signings and pictures, photo ops at conventions are free, which is basically unheard of if you don't know, if you're not part of the convention scene. So again, I want to know how these are the same weirdos and perverts that ruin comics, because last I checked, they are not putting any of this stuff in the Yaira book itself. And what about Putthead here? Yeah, Eric built his own company on being anti-woke. See, we're seeing that again. Then hired turbo-lib Satanist lesbian incest pornographers to work for him. That's the grift, you moron. He's not grifting. Again, I don't know how many times I've got to say, or how anybody has to say, you do not have to align with somebody politically. You do not have to agree with somebody politically, as long as they're leaving that stuff at the door, as long as they're leaving that stuff out of the art or out of the nerd culture that is being created and or consumed. It really isn't that hard of a concept, and this is what I mean when I say the right and the left are the same side of the coin. If it does not match up with them ideologically, if it offends their delicate sensibilities, then it must be canceled. They're sitting here, they're digging up 10-year-old tweets from the Sasa sisters in efforts to try and get them canceled, to the point where Eric July had to make a statement about it, and my god, what a statement he made. When alphacore number 1 was next up, they went after Chuck Dixon, which is true, but again, it was mostly the lunatic left that went after Chuck Dixon, because, oh no, how dare a veteran of the comic book industry stray away from the liberal sensibilities. Now that Yaira is next, they're going after the Saskas and swinging the other side of the political spectrum, and Eric hits the nail on the head here. The left came for him first, the right's coming for him now, because no one is safe and nothing is sacred when it comes to creating art, apparently. They are now digging up 10-plus-year-old posts and such. First off, they tried to fault them for stated political or social positions that are not only irrelevant to the Rippaverse, but they don't even hold anymore. So yeah, apparently they don't even hold those beliefs anymore. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but again, I don't care, because unlike it seems of the majority of the people on X, I can separate individuals from their political beliefs and the art they create. In fact, I'm very good at separating the art from the artist. Now, I don't believe that Michael Jackson ever touched a child. I'm gonna be real, it's not something I particularly hold in my noggin, but let's say he did. Let's say Michael Jackson got all up in that 8-year-old dick. Billie Jean would still slap, and I'd still listen to the song. So even if they are hardcore libtards, if they write a good book, they write a good book. It's really that simple. The rule is that everything gets left at the door, and you'll only get axed if you do something that gets in the way of business, as it should be done. Something that Disney could take notes from. In fact, something that I'm sure many entrepreneurs that only care about ideology should take notes from. This cancellation attempt didn't work, so they're moving to something else. The Saskas are quite literally known for horror films, and now they're being faulted for acting, doing raunchy things, and to be fair, they are very raunchy. I've seen the little clips of the movie and whatnot. I've seen stills. It is raunchy. That's fair. But you know what? Again, people didn't the Italian Stallion, with Rocky, he start off in porno. Nobody's throwing a fit about the upcoming Rocky movie. It's like, oh, this guy did porn in the 70s. How can we watch his movie in 2024? Like, let's be real. An extreme gore film. The worst part about it is the guilt by association that's being played. They acted in a film early in their careers that was directed by someone who turned out to be questionable. They've done nothing since, and it's promo with said director. I expect this gay shit from leftists. I don't expect this from the people that are culturally right, as in right-leaning. And you know what, Eric? That's where you messed up. I do expect this from people who are culturally right, because these people who are culturally right, all they care about is forcing their ideology into the art. And I've said it time and time again, and I will continue to say it. It is not enough to not be anti-woke. You have to actively be right-leaning, and you have to shill for right-leaning ideologies in art, even though you've got some individuals, like myself, like Cult Classic Cage, who are the intelligent ones, and I assume like Eric July as well, who just wants this stuff out of comics in general, or out of nerd culture in general. Whether it be gaming, whether it be comics, whether it be music, anime, movies, it doesn't really matter. But you know what? I thought it'd be nice just to go ahead and show you guys this. I thought it'd be nice to call out the right side, because if you are on the right, this is the point. If you are on the right-leaning side, if you consider yourself a Republican, or a conservative, or a Trumper, or whatever, if you just like low taxes, or better yet, no taxes because taxation is theft, then you need to be doing what your boy Leon is doing. You need to be calling these idiots out, because much like how there actually probably are some pretty good people on the left, and it's just loud fringe minorities that ruin it for everyone, we can debate policy all day long. If you want higher taxes or more regulation, you know what? We can at least have a talk about that. What we can't have a talk about is people trying to actively indoctrinate your kids into this LGBTQ shit in schools. But the right has their own version of that as well, and it's more important to call out your own side than it is to call out the other side, because it shows that you actually have some semblance of a moral compass. It shows that you're not just going to go along with the masses like the sheep you are just because they vote for somebody on the same team. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Again, almost never about other YouTubers or anything to this effect. Again, I hate coming off as a clout chaser, but this is an incredibly important situation, so I had to talk about it. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Also, join the Discord. Become a member. When you become a member for $4.99 a month, you get access to the Words of Paradise Discord, where we get to have loads of fun, and you even get to suggest videos for me to, topics for me to cover in video form. You also get a discount on the merch. I do have a merch store. Right now I'm selling mugs and t-shirts. Get some official Words of Paradise merch. Vital Idol is the discount code. Go to the link in one of these little boxes here and be a proud supporter of Words of Paradise. I appreciate it. And remember, check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, because it's all here in the nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.